It's important to note that a 13.0 magnitude earthquake is an incredibly rare event that has never been recorded in human history. The largest earthquake ever recorded was the 9.5 magnitude earthquake in Chile in 1960, which resulted in significant damage and loss of life. That being said, if such a massive earthquake were to occur in India, the consequences would be catastrophic. The shaking from an earthquake of this magnitude would be incredibly intense, and buildings, roads, and other infrastructure would be severely damaged or completely destroyed. The ground would likely rupture, causing massive fissures and landslides, and the resulting tsunami would devastate coastal areas. The death toll from such an event would be staggering, with potentially millions of people losing their lives. The destruction of critical infrastructure, such as hospitals and communication systems, would make rescue and recovery efforts incredibly difficult. The long-term effects of such a disaster would be felt for years, with many people losing their homes, jobs, and loved ones. In order to minimize the risk of such an event, it's important for India to take steps to prepare for earthquakes and other natural disasters. This includes implementing strict building codes to ensure that structures can withstand earthquakes, developing evacuation plans for coastal areas, and investing in early warning systems to provide people with time to take shelter and protect themselves. In conclusion, while a 13.0 magnitude earthquake in India is a highly unlikely scenario, the potential consequences of such an event are too devastating to ignore. It's important for India and other countries to take steps to prepare for earthquakes and other natural disasters to minimize the impact on human life and infrastructure. An earthquake of magnitude 13.0 is not only considered unlikely, but it is also physically impossible. The largest recorded earthquake in history was the 9.5 magnitude Chile earthquake in 1960, which caused significant damage and loss of life. In contrast, a 13.0 magnitude earthquake would release an amount of energy that is millions of times greater than the largest earthquake ever recorded. Therefore, the scenario of a 13.0 magnitude earthquake in India is purely hypothetical and has no basis in reality. However, India is a country that is vulnerable to earthquakes due to its location on the Indian tectonic plate. The country has experienced several major earthquakes in the past, including the devastating earthquake in Gujarat in 2001, which caused over 20,000 fatalities. Therefore, it is essential for India to take steps to prepare for earthquakes and other natural disasters. One of the most critical measures that can be taken to prepare for earthquakes is the implementation of strict building codes. Buildings that are designed and constructed to withstand earthquakes are less likely to collapse and cause fatalities during an earthquake. It is also crucial to retrofit older buildings and infrastructure to make them more resilient to earthquakes. In addition to building codes, developing evacuation plans for coastal areas is also critical. India has a long coastline, and many people live in low-lying areas that are at risk of being flooded by tsunamis. An evacuation plan would help people in these areas to quickly and safely move to higher ground in the event of a tsunami warning. Early warning systems are another important aspect of earthquake preparedness. These systems use sensors to detect earthquakes and provide advance warning to people in affected areas. With the proper warning, people can take shelter and protect themselves from falling objects or other hazards during the earthquake. Finally, it's important to emphasize the importance of community education and awareness. Many people in India live in high-risk areas, but they may not be aware of the risks or know how to protect themselves during an earthquake. Educating the public about earthquake preparedness and response can save lives and minimize damage during an earthquake. In conclusion, while a 13.0 magnitude earthquake in India is not a realistic scenario, the potential consequences of a major earthquake in the country are still severe. By implementing strict building codes, developing evacuation plans, investing in early warning systems, and educating the public, India can reduce the impact of earthquakes and other natural disasters and save lives. An earthquake is a natural phenomenon that occurs when two tectonic plates on the Earth's surface suddenly shift or slide past each other. This movement creates waves of energy that propagate through the Earth, causing the ground to shake and vibrate. Earthquakes can vary in size and intensity, with some being barely perceptible and others causing significant damage and loss of life. The size and intensity of an earthquake are measured using the Richter scale, which was developed in the 1930s by seismologist Charles Richter. The scale ranges from 0 to 10, with each increase in magnitude representing a 10-fold increase in the amplitude of the seismic waves. For example, an earthquake of magnitude 6.0 releases 10 times more energy than an earthquake of magnitude 5.0. Earthquakes can cause significant damage to infrastructure, including buildings, roads, bridges, and other critical structures. In areas where buildings are not constructed to withstand earthquakes, the shaking can cause buildings to collapse, resulting in significant loss of life. Falling objects such as light fixtures, furniture, and debris can also cause injury or death during an earthquake. In addition to the direct damage caused by the earthquake itself, earthquakes can trigger other hazards such as landslides, tsunamis, and liquefaction. A landslide occurs when the shaking causes soil or rock to become unstable and slide down a slope. Tsunamis can be triggered by underwater earthquakes, and they can cause significant damage to coastal areas. Liquefaction occurs when the shaking causes water-saturated soil to lose its strength, leading to the collapse of buildings and other structures. To mitigate the impact of earthquakes, it's essential to develop earthquake-resistant structures and infrastructure. This includes using materials that can withstand seismic forces and designing buildings with features such as shear walls, bracing, and base isolation to absorb and dissipate energy. Retrofitting older buildings and infrastructure can also help to make them more resilient to earthquakes. In addition to building codes, early warning systems and emergency response plans are critical to minimizing the impact of earthquakes. Early warning systems can provide advance warning to people in affected areas, giving them time to take shelter and protect themselves. Emergency response plans can ensure that resources are available to quickly respond to the needs of those affected by the earthquake. In conclusion, earthquakes are a natural phenomenon that can have significant consequences for people and infrastructure. By developing earthquake-resistant structures, retrofitting older buildings and infrastructure, and implementing early warning systems and emergency response plans, the impact of earthquakes can be minimized, and lives can be saved.